Hi, this is Destiny from desphixs, and welcome back to another video in the e-commerce series using Django. In this one, we'll get started working with a Stripe payment. That is what we'll be doing. Hopefully you will enjoy the video and learn something new. So let's get started. Begin by opening up your code editor and open up the views PY. That's where we are. And just below the checkout view, you want to create a new view called create checkout session. You know what? Let me break off from my server for now. Create checkout session. And this one should pretty much take requests, and it should also take OID so that we can filter an order. Now, filtering order, you already know the drill. We just grab one of this and put it over there. And just like that, we have the order. Then we need Stripe API key. But before we get started, I want you to install Stripe by running pip install Stripe, just like that. Py-m. Let me run this on my system. I think I should already have this installed. So maybe you should see some like requirements already satisfied right now. See, requirements already satisfied. So you go ahead and install this if you don't have it yet. And after you're done installing it, you want to import it at the top. So somewhere at the top, say import Stripe, just like that. So after importing Stripe like this, I will scroll down to the checkout session again. I think that should be somewhere here. And now we need the Stripe API key. So stripe.api key should be equal to, then I want you to add your API key here. So what you can do now is you can sign up an account on Stripe and grab your free API key. And I want you to put it over here, okay? Or we could even still put this in an env file. So if you want to put this in an env file, this is what you need to do. In your root directory, create a new file. So I'll say .env, like that. And in this one, we need to pass in the Stripe API key. So you can say Stripe underscore secret underscore key should be equal to. Then I want you to add your Stripe secret key over here. Sign up a free account on Stripe and grab your API secret key and put it over here, okay? I'll pause the video now and put my own key here. So I have now put my own key in the env file. After that is done, I then want you to open up the settings PY, and let's configure environment variable in Django. In case you don't know how to do that, you will learn how to configure a variable right now in Django. Before we get started, I want you to install pip install Django-environ. So Python-m pip install environs like this, and also Django-environ. So after installing those two packages, I already have them installed on mine, so I don't need to do that again. After installing the packages, all you pretty much need to do is say from environs, we need to import env, okay? And after that, we need to initialize the env package, and we assign the variable env to it. And finally, let's read from the env. So env.read env, as simple as that. So right now, we could use this env to make a call back to the env file that we have to grab data from there. This will help us keep data securely, which means we don't have to always pass in raw data to the front end. So now I will scroll all the way to the bottom, maybe somewhere here. And I want to create a new, let me call this. So I'm creating a new Stripe secret key and public key variables. And for this, the way we grab the env from the env file, we will be passing in env like this. Then whatever you called the env should be what you will have over here. So now if I open up my env file, you can see the Stripe secret key and also the Stripe public key. So do you see how it got set up? Now I'm grabbing these keys over here from this variable that I called over here. I hope all this makes sense. So after doing it this way, that's pretty much what we want. Get back to your views PY, and all the way at the top, I want you to import settings from django.conf, import settings, okay? Okay, I think we already even have it, so there is no need to re-import it again. You'll get rid of that. And over here, just say settings settings dot, then to get the API key, you pretty much need to call any of these keys here. There you go, we are done. So after you've added your API key, what you then need to do now is create a new checkout session. I'll define a variable called checkout session and set this one to stripe dot checkout dot session dot create. And the first thing that we need is the customer underscore email. So the customer email should pretty much be the order.email. And we also need the payment underscore method underscore types. And for that one, we need card. So users can use credit card for the payment. And we also need line items. This should be a list. And in the line items, there will be a dictionary. And in here, we need a price underscore data, which will hold all the price informations like the currency, the amount, and things like that. So starting with the currency, which is USD. And also for the price, that one needs to be stored in the product underscore data dictionary. And what we need to pass in there is the name of the buyer or the customer. So name should be order dot full name, order dot full name. And how do we now pass in the amount that the user want to buy? It should be unit amount. So unit underscore amount. And what do we want to pass in for that? I will convert this into an integer firstly, then say order dot price multiply by 1000. So Stripe always wants you to send the amount in the units, in the unit amount. Okay, so that's why I passed in unit amount there. And after all this is done, just below here, I will then create quantity. So quantity, and I will pass in 1. Okay, so when that's done, that's pretty much everything that we need. Let's now create a mode, and mode for this will be payment, and also success URL. Success URL should be request dot and build absolute URL. So build absolute underscore URL. And just in case you don't know, this is pretty much the, okay, this should be equal to, okay? In case you don't know, this is the URL that we will get redirected to if the payment goes through. So build absolute URI dot URL. And what do we want to do? We pretty much want to reverse to the payments completed page. So that's payments completed view. And you need to add arguments. So args should pretty much be order.oid. As simple as that. And you can append the checkout session ID to it if you wish to do so, which I think is important. So I will say session underscore ID should be what? Equal to, then here I will call the checkout underscore session underscore ID. Session underscore ID. So when you have all this, you could pretty much duplicate this, and this one will be for the field URL or the cancel URL. That's what Stripe calls it. So cancel URL, cancel, okay? And this one should go to payment field. You can remove the args and the checkout session. I don't think we need that. Okay, so with all this, that's pretty much what we want to do. Now let's update the order. So I'll say order dot paid status, paid, hold on. I believe we have order over here. So order dot paid underscore status should be equal to false. Let's see, why is this not getting the order? Oh, there seems to be a problem. Add one more closing brackets there. See, now we can get the paid status. So we set the paid status to false, and I will say order dot Stripe payment intent should be equal to checkout session dot ID. So this is how we are grabbing the ID from the checkout session. Okay, and let's save the order. So order dot save. Now just So you know all these are coming from Stripe. Okay, I got all this from Stripe. This is how you make payments. But this one here is my own way of populating the Stripe payment intent with this data over here, and pretty much performing my own operations. And after you've done this, let's register it in the URL. So URL, and you can just look for anywhere that you want to register. This is the best place that you can work for you, and throw it in there. So I'll put it down here. I'll say part and API / then you can call the view. I'll say views dot create checkout session. So let me put that name over here. Okay. And remember that create checkout session, it takes OID. So please do not miss that OID. And also do not miss to add in the pattern name, which we all know is create checkout session. When this is done, that is pretty much everything that we want to do. Now I want you to open up your payments completed, not that, but the checkout HTML page. And we need to write a simple script to actually perform the payment for Stripe. But before we do that, one thing that I think we are missing is open up your views PY, and in your checkout over here where we are passing all this in, we need to pass in another key to the template that will be called, let me call that Stripe underscore publishable underscore key. And we want to set it to settings dot Stripe public key. I believe that's what I called it here. I'm gonna take that and pretty much put it in there, which means I can now access this in my template in the checkout, right? So down here, I'm creating a new script that we will use for the payment. And just like we did with PayPal, I will also be using the script to perform these operations so that we make it seamless. And the very first thing that we want to do is firstly define a variable called Stripe. And we have to set this to Stripe. And for this, we have to activate this using the Stripe publishable key. So that should be this one here. So the Stripe public key is needed to be able to activate this. That is why we'll pass it into the context. And after you've done this, let's also grab this button here, which is this button. It has an ID of checkout button, so we will have to hold on to that. I will say VAR button, or you could even call it checkout button, should be equal to document.getElements by ID, and we are grabbing the checkout button. All right, as simple as that. Now in a try catch, we need to write some code. So I'll say try. If there is an error, we need to go ahead and catch the error and also log it down there. So if there is an error, let's log error. But in the try catch, what do we want to do in there? We want to firstly add an event listener to the button. So we'll say checkouts, this should be checkout like that. So checkout button dot add event listener, and we're passing click, and we also pass in function. All right, so the very first thing will be to grab the email of the user. I will say VAR email should be equal to, wrap this like this. Then you need to say order.email over here. And after getting that, let's change the inner HTML of the button to say something like processing. Okay, so inner HTML should say processing. Now let's try this out to see if it's working as expected. When we get back to our code, all right, my server is not running. Let me run my server again. Python manage.py run server. There seems to be an issue. We forgot a comma here. We forgot a comma here. So please do not forget to add that in. That's working now. So let's reload this page. And I want to get back to the checkouts, this one here. And reload this page. Open up your console also, so that we can debug errors if we get any. Now this is the payment button, right, for Stripe. So now as you click on this button, can you see it shows processing? Now it shows processing. We want it to now make a call to that API that we wrote for creating the checkout session, and from there we'll perform other operations. So back to the checkout. After adding the inner HTML, then we need to use the JavaScript fetch API to make a call to API / what was the URL called? Let me confirm. So this is what it was called. So API / instead of this other OID here, you could get rid of that and pretty much make it be like other.oid like this, and I believe that should work. And add a comma, open up braces, and in here we want to perform a lot of operations. Firstly is passing the method that we want to make use of to a post method. So we are making a post request to that particular view or the particular API that we wrote. And also the body that we want to send to that is pretty much the email. So I'll say JSON.stringify. So we want to pass the email, but before we pass it, we want to turn the JSON object into strings. So we are stringifying the JSON object. And we say email should be whatever email that we have over here. Stripe needs that. And after we have stringified that, and it makes a call back to that API, it will return a response. Let's grab the response. So then function, hold on, this should be function like this. I'll pass in the response parameter in here so that we can hold onto the response. You could even just go ahead and log response immediately so you see what we are getting. And let's try this out to see what we have. I'll reload the page, and still reloading. All right, I think it's done now. When you click on this, can you see response? It's returning a 403 error. Redirect is false, and this is pretty much it. What is a 403 error? 403 error meaning okay, 403 forbidden. All right, that's a forbidden error. So let's see our API. What is going on here? See, that's a 403 error. So there is a problem with making a post call here, and we actually need to see what the problem is. So let me open up this response fully, and this is the body. Headers is false. Okay, it's false. Redirect. Status forbidden. Type basic. So what is the problem? How about we just get other information, then we'll see what's going on with this error. So now that we have console logged this one, let me also console log Stripe and reload this page. So we'll try that out. But while the page is reloading, let's return the JSON, the response, but we need to convert it to JSON firstly. So response.json. Okay. Now that we have that, we also need to grab the session from the response. So I'll pass another then. And for this one, I want to grab session. And what we pretty much need to do here is return Stripe dot redirect to checkout. So for returning Stripe dot redirect to checkout, this is what's going to happen. It will pretty much redirect us to the Stripe hosted payments page. And the way we are getting that Stripe redirect to checkout, let me type it out so you see. Stripe dot redirect to checkout. So this pretty much is coming from Stripe over here, the redirect to checkout, and what it needs to be able to redirect us to the checkout and actually show the payments hosted page is the session ID. So it needs a key session ID, and actual value of the session ID is session.session ID. You don't need to worry much about this. All these are pretty much coming from this checkout session that we created over here. As soon as you create a checkout session, it returns a session ID for you. So that is the session ID that we are passing in here. Okay. And second to the last, we need to then grab, if there is an error over here, let's say function, I'll pass in results. And in case something went wrong, let's firstly say if results dot error, then we want to alert. You can either alert or you could console log. Let's just alert results dot error dot message. Okay, then the final thing here will be to create the catch statement. So let's catch any error that might be thrown to us and successfully log it. That way we could even see what was causing the error that we had initially. Now we just need to console log error and error. Okay, hopefully you get what's going on. Very basic JavaScript, very basic. With working with all the JavaScript that we've worked in this tutorial, I believe you should have a rough understanding of what's going on here. Just pretty much returning some response from a particular view. So let's reload this page now and try this out to see what we have. Okay, the page is reloading. So you can see that it has reloaded. And when you click on this now, we have an error showing up over here. Error says syntax unexpected. There's doc type is not a valid JSON. So let's see what's going on. See what Stripe is returning. This is where we got the redirect to checkout from. Can you see it over here? All good. And this is the response that we are getting. So this error now is showing. We need to focus more on the error to see what's going on. It says unexpected token. Doc type is not a valid JSON. So what is going on? So one of the best ways to debug this error is to immediately call this API URL to see what we have. So I'll just call this on a new tab and see it's related to an email address, a wrong email address. So let's see, what did we even add in as the email for that particular order, which is this order over here. See, I passed this as the email. That is very wrong. So guys, please switch that up and let me reload this page again. Okay, it says the view blah 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 blah, return a response, it should return a none instead. Okay, let's try running that code now using let's try running that code from here instead. I will reload this page so that it gets all the information synced. And let's try this out again while this renders the buttons. Click on this again. Okay, we're still getting the 403 error. With the 403 error, if you click on this network, you can see it's showing a CSRF exempt error, which is forbidden, which means that we need to pass in a CSRF onto this view here so that we don't have an issue. So I'll pass in CSRF exempt over here on this view. And after you've done that, if you click on this again, now it's returned the 500 server error, which is another error. Okay, that's nice. Let's see what's happening. It says the view didn't return, the view returned none instead. It didn't return a valid response. So that makes sense, because if you look at the checkout session, we are just returning order.save instead of us to actually return, not raise, but return a JSON response that will pass the session ID to the front end. So session ID, and for that one, we pretty much want to pass checkout session dot ID. So with this now, I believe that should be working. Let's get back and click on process. Okay, you see, that is now opening up the Stripe payments page. All right, that is good. We just had to check out the code on the server to see what's going on. And what I have to do now is go ahead and put in the Mi credit card 42424242. I'm putting a year in the future and also a CVV. Name on card, I will pass in something, say Destiny Franks, just anything at all, and pay. Okay, see, now payments went through and it took us back to this page. And now if you take a close look at that order, you see that that order's payment status will then be marked as paid. See, paid status, yes. All right, that is all good. So why does it even show paid status yes like that? Does that make sense? Let me check out the model. It should it not be like a Boolean field or something? So paid status, defaults, true, null, remove the null, okay? I don't think the null makes sense there. So I believe we are done with everything that we want to do. Let's see. See now, it's paid. So there you go. Stripe is working perfectly well as expected. You have the source code. You can go through it one line after the other. And I will also provide the API documentation. You can hop over to Stripe documentation and read more on the checkout session and see how things work over there. That is pretty much it. I'm sure we are done with the front end side of the e-commerce. We just refactored the checkout, added the coupon feature, changed the way addresses works, add PayPal, added Stripe, and made some little changes to make the templates look good. And in the next video, we'll start working with the dashboard and pretty much bringing everything together the way it should be. So that was pretty much it. Hopefully you learned something new from the video and enjoyed it. If you're looking to set up a real e-commerce website, do make sure to send a mail to desphixs@gmail.com. They will discuss how to get you a real e-commerce website for your startup. That is pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, much love, peace out.